and he can make recommendations for different things too. Carrie is just wonderful. And Infinity Healing Spa, which is right there in Brazelton and offers 2 different types of cryogenesis, which is phenomenal. They have a whole cryo chamber, which I'm totally getting Mom to go do, where you step into the cryo chamber and they shut the door and you're in there for like 2 minutes at negative something 100 degrees.
I've done it.
Have you done it?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So she's got that, and then she's got the wand where they cryo whatever your specific area is. Or if you've got a pacemaker and you're not allowed in the chamber, then they can cryo specific areas with this round glowy wand thing. It's very cool. Sir?
Can you meet Disney too?
Can you? Maybe. He's not up here. He's in a Florida or California cryo chamber. Yeah. You freeze a little bit, but not enough to kill you.
Good thing.
I don't know. She told me all the things, and it just sounded lovely. They also have the flotation, which is what I want to go do the float. It's where they've got the real high saline, and you just lay in there and float, and they can play gentle whatever music, and doesn't that sound lovely? That sounds so lovely. So lots of different actually working healing therapies. So, and then since tonight was supposed to be about the eye, I hit the wrong button. Well, I keep wanting to hit the middle button. I pushed the button again.
Jason alert.
Oh, Wes.
Do I just need to push the middle button or the right button?
The right button.
I did.
Did you push the middle button?
Maybe. The middle button's bigger.
Right, now try pressing the right button.
Okay. So,
No, press it now.
oh, right now.
Make sure it works, so I don't have to walk up here.
Whoa.
I pushed it one time.
Uh-huh. Sure you did.
How about if I just beep and you look at
There
for
you
me?
go.
So since tonight was supposed to be about the eye and dyslexia, I thought, well, I'll just tell you what little I know about the eye and dyslexia. First of all, I am nobody. I really am. I'm just standing here. I know most of you love me, and some of you like me. Glad you're here tonight, but I'm really nobody in the grand scheme of things. I am not an expert in basically anything, and yet I can read, and I know people who are experts, so I can ask them questions. And that's how we learn things and know what's actually going on, is we have common sense, and the world is so amazingly complex, connected, and logical. It's beautiful. So if you've got something that's out of step with your personal worldview paradigm and how things are functioning, then you've got something that doesn't fit. You've got something you need to take out and evaluate differently. So if I say something that is out of step with your paradigm, out of step with how you see the worldview, let me know. I may have something wrong. I am fallible. I may have incorrect information, but what I'm going to tell you is as correct as I know it to be. So these are all different eyes. They're all different types of animal eyes. And one human. No. And if you look at it, they're all different. There are no half eyes. There is no partial sight eye. You either have sight or you do not. The only difference between eyes that see and see with clarity and depth and light perception and don't, the only step down from that are light sensors. So there are some slugs that have light sensors instead of eyes. So they can't actually see anything, but they can sense when light happens. So there is no half eye. In all of these animals, what's really amazing is if you see their brains, if you see an animal's brain, the eyes are connected to it. Not that they have included the eyes when they're talking about the brain, but that the brain is actually a part of, the eyes are actually a part of the brain structure for animals, which is not true for humans. our brain is separate from our eyes. If we lose our vision, our brain continues to function. We adjust in other ways. Whenever an animal loses its vision, it also compensates, but it's a completely different functionality. So I thought that was really interesting when we've seen the different brains, that the animal's eyes, every animal, the eyes are included as part of the brain because it's so close up under the brain itself. They sit in or are embedded in the brain. Didn't do anything. Is that all I need to do? Is just click the button?
Yeah, just click now.
Trying to be all fancy and everything. Okay, this is the structure of an eyeball, of a human eyeball. So you'll see that it's actually a ball, and it's got a little dome that comes up from the front of the eye. That's where your lens, it's not where your lens goes. Your lens goes inside that blue sphere. Yeah. Not the dome part, but the other part. That's your
You
lens.
have a laser pointer. You use that as the trigger.
There. That's your lens. So every time your eye blinks, as your eye goes down, one lipid cleans your eye that way. And when you open your eye, a different protein lipid goes up to moisten your eye. That's so cool! That's amazing, because that's just one functionality of your eye. Just one. So this is the human eye, and it says, furnished with automatic aiming, automatic focusing, and automatic aperture adjustment, the human eye can function from almost complete darkness to bright sunlight, see an object the diameter of a fine hair, and make about 100,000 separate motions in an average day, faithfully affording us a continuous series of color stereoscopic pictures. All of this is performed usually without complaint, and then while we sleep, it carries on its own maintenance work. Because while you sleep, your eyes actually swell whenever you first go to sleep, and then as you sleep through the night and your REM and your delta waves start, your eyes, the inflammation decreases as your eyelids are closed, and your eyes decrease in size. Isn't that amazing? I didn't know that your eyes actually swell whenever you first go to sleep. So whenever you wake up sometimes, you're like, that's because your eyes are still swollen. They are, and you feel like that sometimes. And isn't that amazing? That's amazing. And then whenever I was looking for pictures for optometrists and vision therapists, they have this kind of humor. I mean, it was puns all over the place. It was hilarious. I was cracking up. I'm trying to find real slides for dyslexia and vision therapists, and I've got this kind of thing going on. It was very difficult to focus. So, and then here's my slide on dyslexia. So this is how, can you read anything? So, see this is a Homer Simpson. So this is what this is what society thinks dyslexia is that you're stupid. This is what my parents think it is, where it's all homework trouble. This is what my boss thinks it is, that I'm just a fish out of water and I can't get anything correct. This is what my friends think it is, where the words are just backwards and some of the letters are in the wrong places. This is what I think it is, where it's like listening to a book, listening to flipping through a book, it just doesn't work. And this is what it actually is a learning difference. That's great, they made that really, really small. It's a learning difference. So, is anyone in here, we have twins in here, is anyone in here identical? You're identical twins. Are you identical? No, because you're wearing glasses and she's not wearing glasses and she's taller and you've got differences, right?
She's got ears here.
You're as much identical as anybody in here, and yet you're still very different individuals. Yes? Yes. So we all have differences. So do we all learn the same way? Man, not even close. Not even close. So dyslexia is not a weakness. It's just a different way of looking at the world. And I can say that with confidence because I have a dyslexic child, And whenever she does amazing things. She can manipulate things in her head three-dimensionally. It's amazing. How is that possibly a weakness? That's phenomenal. Whenever we started talking about geometry and algebra and you tell her different angles of things, she can do that in her head. That's amazing. Now, whenever we took her to Dr. Cook, nope. Oh, if life gives you melons, you probably have dyslexia. I told you that all the optometrists are fine.
You do what? If life gives you melons instead of lemons.
You have dyslexia.
Oh, wait,
That's
If
the same-
life gives
that's
you
the same
melons
laugh
instead
that
of
everybody
lemons,
Then
then you've got dyslexia.
It's a dad joke. It's not supposed to be funny.
I told you, the optometrists this is their sense of humor. Okay, so this is one of the ways that dyslexic children see, with the double vision where it repeats. Now, I'm going to tell you, Michaela is the one that has dyslexia. So whenever we took her to Dr. Cook, we learned that she not only sees like this, but she had difficulty tracking. So, you know how we move, as English readers, we move from the top left, across, down, top left, across, like this. Her eyes did not track like that. She went up, down, left, she was all over the place. And then one of her eyes moved significantly faster than the other one. So whenever she was reading something, one eye was done and the other one was like back on the A. So, and in addition to that, with her beautiful, magical brain, she sees every variation of A simultaneously in her head. So when you present a rudimentary A, she sees this could be an A, that could be an A, that could be an A. All of these variations in 3D space are an A to her, which is phenomenal if you ever need someone to recognize that this is an A from way over there. Awesome. But whenever you're trying to read a book and you're having to go through every variation that it could possibly be and come up with an A, and then there's letters after that to make a whole stinking word, it's exhausting. So we learned all these different things that fall under this huge umbrella called dyslexia, because dyslexia incorporates not just the reversal of numbers or the switching of one letter into a different place, or even this, it's even more than that, because it includes dysgraphia, which is a disconnect between the brain and the hand, where you're like, the majority of us will tell our hand, H-O-W, and your hand goes, yes, H-O-W, and her hand goes, which H? Because again, she's got the 360 H, so which H is she going to write? Her hand doesn't know. So that's a disconnect between the brain and the hand. I think it's just an overload, but she's got this giant globe with all the letters on there, like a typewriter. So, but again, it's just...
Yeah. Oh, most children have no idea what they're supposed to see. So when words look like this, they assume everyone sees the same way they do. Imagine how frustrating that would be.
Because who wants to read?
I could read that.
Everyone wants to read. So if you have a child
Yeah.
who is struggling to read, is that because they don't want to read? They are uninterested? No, it's because they're experiencing a difficulty in reading. So they may not like the material, or they're actually having vision issues. Because you have a twin who wasn't reading. So
Look,
these
she's
are...
only got 50 minutes to go through it, and she's not even into slide 6.
So these are different ways that children can see who would need vision therapy. So this first one is a child that sees like this can pass a vision screening. So this is 20/20 vision. That's where you go in and you do the EFP, or the sailboats for the younger children, sailboats and the colors. And then a child that sees like this can pass a vision screening. You can see that it's a little bit blurrier, so they're still going to show a 20/20 vision, 20/20 eyesight, but they're going to have a vision issue. And then a child that sees like this, what's actually there hasn't changed, but how they see it does, because the words move and things wiggle on the page. So, and they could pass if they've learned how to adjust, or if they've learned how to fake it. So those are just the different ways that children see. So that's the dyslexia portion. It's not a weakness. It can be a superpower, but it does have to be addressed in order to be able to function in society. He went out the door. Daniel. Daniel.
He's right at the entrance. His entrance right there.
He's with Zen. Okay.
Keep
So we're
going.
watching the ambulance. Well, then I'm going to get into the fossils. This is so cool. So, I geek out over fossils. But look at this fossil. It's the same. They're identical. How cool is that? And if you look at our,
It's only right.
you can come up and look at this later, but look. This is a fossilized bat that has been dated as millions of years old. And this is a vampire bat, a flying fox.
Guardian, hush.
Sit. A flying fox. And you can look at these and see that they are the same. That's amazing. I think that's amazing. And then, how about this?
Look, it's the same way.
There you go. And then whenever you start looking at fossils, y'all, there are raindrop fossils, and there are jellyfish fossils, and there are starfish fossils. There are fossilized starfish. How delicate are starfish?
Beer.
I mean, what had to happen for them to be fossilized?
Immediately buried.
That's amazing, right? They've conducted pig experiments, so they took a pig, and they, because the evolutionists were saying that they were buried underwater or they were buried under sand, and that's happened. And you've seen the slides where like something dies, and then it lays there and the sand goes over it or the water comes and it's still laying there. And so experimenters decided, all right, let's try this out. I don't know if you've ever done this. We went through a large necropsis period, so we have done multiple studies ourselves. So, but anytime you have something dead, think about something dead on the side of the road. We do have the roadwork crew that comes by and picks up some of it, but generally it doesn't just stay there, and especially not all of it stays there, right? So conducting the experiment, they took a pig and they placed it at the side of a lake, and they nailed it down. They put a fine mesh over it so that no large scavengers could take off with any big pieces, and they nailed it down and put it beside. That pig, over the next week, went over a mile in every direction from small scavengers. So how is this that something would die and just lay there and wait to be buried with multiple layers and be compacted? It doesn't make sense. It's not objective, observable, or repeatable. It's not repeatable with the science that we have now or with the experiments that we conduct now. And you can do that at home yourself. Again, starfish fossils. How did we get starfish fossils? That's amazing. And jellyfish and raindrops. That's amazing. I don't know how we got them, but it wasn't the jellyfish laying out in the sun for a long time. I mean, you've seen jellyfish when they lay out in the sun for a long time, they're water. So I don't know how we got jellyfish. Okay, stand back. I thought, whenever they tell you about fossils, I thought there was like one guy in the plinth house going out, going to find a fossil. Maybe he'll stumble across one and find one in his 50 years of digging up the, No, there are fossil fields. Like fields, football fields size with fossils in them. And there's multiple fossil fields. I know, right?
What are you talking about?
So, you know, when you talk about the guys that are like digging up the dinosaur bones, and they like, oh, we found this T-Rex and it's the most complete T-Rex of all the... There are fossil fields. They are refusing to dig up some of these fossils because there are so many of them in a compact space.
What do they think caused that in one space?
So this one is called the log. This one's not the log jam. This is a different one. This is the log jam one in Utah. So there was an abutment, a hard rock abutment, and there was a wall of water that slammed into the abutment and had all of these animals. Laser pointer. Had all of these animals. Can you see? That's bones, and 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 that's bones. For the whole, it's a whole wall that's like this size. And they haven't excavated all of it because it all looks like this. And they got tired of excavating it. And this, it doesn't, the good stuff isn't on top, it goes all the way through. It's a fossil field that is several football fields big. And this one's called the Log Jam one. It's a national park in Utah. And they think that it's an abutment and that water came crashing, that there were animals in the water and in front of the water, and that water came crashing into it and went up against the abutment. So in some of the fossil fields, I couldn't find the telemetry pictures, there are swirl patterns. That's indicative of a flood. So we don't know, is it a local flood or a global flood or a regional, or it's a, who knows, was it tectonic plate? I don't know, but they've got swirl patterns in these fossil fields. I just can't get over fossil fields. That just blew my mind. And then there's not one, but like in North America, there's more than 3 fossil fields. And China's like, oh yeah, we've got several of those, and also amber, what's the amber ones? Amber mines, like entire veins of amber with
Tree
stuff.
sap.
Yeah, of tree sap, where
Pine
stuff's been
sap.
stuck in there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And we don't hear that there's these vast numbers of fossils. And whenever people started asking if you can call different archaeologists, paleontologists, and ask them, they have found alongside the different fossils, the dinosaur fossils, here's another fossil field for scale. See the person? See her?
Oh, there he is.
Oh, yeah. She's standing, so look at these bones. This is another fossil field. And that's a different one. And then this is the same one. See the 2 people there? That's the same one as the last one. So when you talk to people about these different fossils and ask them, okay, so these are all dinosaur fossils then? No! They're not all dinosaur fossils. In the ones that I just showed you, there's oxen and mastodon as well as dinosaur. And whenever you start talking to people, they found birds alongside in the same, you saw how mixed up it all is, alongside it in that same fossil field, peacocks, parrots, pigeons, ducks, like almost every kind of bird that we have that you can name have been found alongside or inside dinosaurs. Pelican, yeah. I don't know why we're on the pea birds today, but yeah.
Good alliteration.
Yeah, thank you. So I just thought that was amazing. So that was some amazing science that I wanted to share about the fossil fields. Because again, just blew my mind. I didn't believe them the first time. I had to go look stuff up. And the more you look that up, the more like, it's just more mind-boggling that everybody doesn't know this. Why aren't they telling us this? That's phenomenal. We should all know that there are multiple fossil fields, and several of them are national parks. You can go visit them. That's amazing. Okay, so that's the fossil fields. And then, this looks like a fossil field, but it's not. I was watching Dinosaur 13, which is the most complete T-Rex skeleton ever found. It's a wonderful documentary. It was very interesting. It's very evolutionarily based, which is fine. So, but turn off the sound and just watch it, and it's really cool. So, if you look at this, these are the people who found it. She found it. She kind of was walking along like you thought they were and saw the face in the side of the cliff and kind of rubbed it and was like, oh, I think this is a T-Rex tooth right there, and then kept on digging. And then they dug down and found this complete skeleton, almost complete skeleton of a T-Rex. And they named her Sue. She's Dinosaur 13. It's very political. It's a very interesting documentary. But just look at it. Just look at it. Don't just look at it and think, okay, because her head's over here, and tail's over here. And I was looking at this and I thought, oh my goodness. This is just me thinking. But if you take those short little useless legs and you put them down on the ground and bring up those rear legs like a frog or something, and look at her head, yeah,
We're not seeing.
it's
what
a
you see.
dragon.
Oh, yeah.
It's a dragon.
Dragon's been gone for, what, 15 minutes?
But that's amazing. That makes sense then, because then you don't have, oh no, with the giant head rolling around and everything. No, then you've got what we've got on pottery and vases and on St. George and the dragon and the tapestries and engraved in the church buildings and like all the different places, all artistic in South American and in Britain and Ireland and
Please don't distract her.
I like the kangaroos. So that's amazing. So
Point to
that's
a-
Sue.
point-
It's a very
Point
interesting.
to a lower jaw or something so you can get a perspective on it.
That's her lower jaw. Here's her teeth.
Oh, okay, I see.
There's her. This is her head. And see,
There's her eyeball
it's
right
turned.
there.
Yeah.
Or what was left of her eye socket.
I don't know how to go back to the other one, but you saw the other one was curved, right? Because it was curved like that, just exactly like typical dragon poses. Anyway, just think about that. That's a think about it. I saw that and I was like, that's crazy. And then, boop. Can you see this? It took me a while to
The
find
dinosaur
one.
foot.
Oh, it's a dinosaur.
This is a dinosaur foot. What's this?
It's another dinosaur foot. Because you know they
That's a
can't be on
human
there at the
foot.
same time.
It's a human foot.
No, that can't be happening.
It's a human foot.
I thought it was a knife.
That's illegal.
But look at the transition. Which one's on bottom? The human footprint came first.
Isn't that amazing?
No,
They
isn't
tried
that
to
crazy?
debunk this. There was a lot of,
Being absurd.
Yeah, but the
Like-
human footprint
like
came
most of
first
our-
because the dinosaur footprint matched.
ran on top of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? They tried to debunk this, but it runs adjacent to something that had already been verified and was already in multiple museums. So they
They
tried
did.
to say, there's a lot of what they tried to say about it and different things, but it's still there and it still holds up. This is an enhanced photo of it, so the shadows have been enhanced so that you can see it better, but it is a real picture. So, but I did find one where the shadows were enhanced so that you can see it better to
Do
increase
you
the
know where that
clarity.
is by chance?
Sir?
Do you know where that is by chance?
Texas.
Okay.
Texas.
Yeah.
And, well, that wasn't a fossil field. That was a,
It was a creek.
yeah, it was a
Creek
creek
bed.
with all the tracks. And whenever it floods, it reveals additional tracks. And, but you talk to somebody about Texas and they're like, oh yeah, you mean the, yeah, they know it. It's amazing. How about this? What? It is! It's an ankylosaur that was discovered in a coal mine in China. It's an ankylosaur. It's an ankylosaur that was discovered in a coal mine when they were mining in China. So it's not a whole dinosaur. It's the whole skin of the dinosaur. So whenever they started digging, the coal flaked off, and this was left underneath. So it's the impression from the skin of the ankylosaur. That's amazing. Like, we should all know about that, right? It's a dinosaur. We know how the skin looks. You can see the eyes. You can see the eyes. You can see the scales. You can see the texture of the skin. You can see the nostrils. This is amazing. And you can look at this and compare it to the art that we have, both from that region and from South America, and go, yep. Yep, it looks exactly like that. And look, up here in the corner, National Geographic. Ha ha ha.
Whoa.
Ha 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 ha
You
ha.
got that hidden away.
How about that? Yeah. Okay. So this is Leonardo da Vinci sketched incessantly. We all know that, right? You guys have flipped through his book before. I don't know. I don't know how geeky you are.
You're not.
Or looked at his whirly stuff and, okay, did he ever sketch anything unreal? He was so focused on realistic drawings, remember, and doing the man and making sure everything was the correct proportions. And he even got the cadavers he dug up, got in trouble for digging things because he wanted things to be so realistic. So this is his sketches of cats in different poses. And amidst the cats, there's this sketch. So you can see the cats fighting and twirling and sleeping and growling. And amongst them is this little sketch of a dragon.
I used to have a cat that looked just like that.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
So it makes you wonder, did Da Vinci see a dragon? I don't know.
Probably.
But there's a, I don't know.
He was the first archaeologist, wasn't he?
And then in
digging
2007,
up
this woman scientist hit the scene and she got in serious trouble because she said, guys, we can't lie to the general public anymore. I have interns and they know what's going on. I can't keep them quiet. She said, the dinosaurs are gooey. The dinosaurs are gooey. This is dinosaur blood.
It's behind you.
The dinosaurs who are supposed to be millions of years old, this is dinosaur blood. And it's from various different kinds of dinosaurs in various different places, but they are gooey. And her name was Mary Schweitzer, and she was debunked and disavowed, and she lost all accreditation. And she said, I will not lie. Science is science, and I'm going to stand for it. And this is true, and this is what I found and discovered, and this is what I'm going to report. And she kept on saying it, and in 2016, other researchers said, she's right. And in 2019, they actually started studying. So this is from 2019 slides. So from 2007, when she acknowledged it, to 2019, when they actually started studying it, 12 years, she has had to wait to be venerated for this. That's amazing. Why don't they tell us this kind of thing? It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Okay, so that was the dinosaurs. This is wood. I know, you're like, that's not exciting. Okay, so this is engineered wood, and this is old growth in the forest. This is engineered wood, but it's engineered to be faster, make it bigger, faster, stronger now. So, and this is what they've done when they grow it bigger, faster, stronger now, is like this. And this is the old growth that's allowed to grow its own time and harvested responsibly. So what's happening is roofers and contractors, construction workers are falling through roofs because this is so porous, it just falls to pieces. It's not as strong as this.
Just stop it.
Okay, this is a whale heart. For scale, this is at least a 6-foot ladder.
It's 8-foot scaffold.
It's an 8-foot scaffolding. So this is a whale heart. See the different chambers? You can swim through the chambers of the heart. If you could get into the heart, you could swim through the chambers. That's how large it is. This is a blue whale heart. That's amazing. Yes?
How do you get out?
You just have to live there forever because you're like, I don't know how I got into the whale heart. Boom, boom. And you're crushed and die. Okay, this is snowflake babies. So in Jacksonville, we have a friend, and she has twins. And after we had known her for a while, she said, well, they're really not twins. And we said, what? And she said, well, I said, are you their mother? She goes, yes, but not biologically. What? Did you birth them? Yes, I birthed them. Okay, so you're a surrogate then. She says, yes. And I said, so they're sisters, and they were born at the same time. She goes, well, they're half-sisters. What? So, my friend and her husband, you gotta follow this one. My friend and her husband adopted 2 embryos. adopted 2 embryos who were half-sisters. The first embryo was frozen, we're going to say in 2000, by her biological father and her biological mother, who were married, and they got divorced. And he decided with his second wife that they wanted more children, and so they froze the second embryo with his second wife. So the girls, and then they had enough children, and so those embryos were left in the cryogenesis. And so the doctor, the IVF doctor, Dr. Brown, made those available to a family who, for whatever reason, couldn't have children of their own, made those donor embryos. They were already there. And so the girls were implanted at the same time in the same mother, who is not biologically related to them. And they were born at the same time, even though they were frozen 7 years apart.
That is so
That's amazing, right? I mean, that's just mind-boggling. So, and Dr. Brown came and spoke. You guys have to watch his presentation from Jacksonville. It's amazing. But he said he's been doing this for over 25 years, and he said those embryos that were frozen 25 years ago continue to be viable. He said, I could implant that now with an over 80% success rate. So that's what snowflake babies are. So when you start hearing those terms, snowflake babies, it's babies who were frozen for a while and then implanted. So donor embryo adoption is a thing. That's amazing, right? What?
History, the baby, they are fine.
They're fine. They're fine. Yeah, they doesn't seem to, yep.
Are they still babies?
Yeah, they're still babies.
Until they grow up.
When they grow up?
Yeah, we wouldn't have known anything had she not told
Yeah,
us.
growing up runs being a baby.
We wouldn't have known. Okay, this is the structure of water. Okay, so these are onion tears. So whenever you've cut a slice of the onion and you're crying, this is how your tears look under a microscope. These are tears of happiness. Completely different from onion tears, right? These are tears of grief. And these are tears of change. Like something's changing. Overwhelmed that. I mean, those are tears from the same eyes. And those are the different, so water has different structures to it. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, there's science, and then there's science. Are you guys doing okay, or have I gone long enough? We should just clap. We should just clap. Renee's like, maybe. So, I have a cousin who was almost a flipper child. I don't know if y'all remember the flipper kids from the late 1960s, early 1970s. We haven't heard anything about them for a while. They were big news in the psychological community because there wasn't any cerebral damage, but there was damage to their limbs, usually their arms. And
What do you call that?
why were they called flipper children?
No. What the real name
What's the real name?
is? Thalidomide babies?
It's whatever the drug was that they gave them.
Thalidomide.
It was
That's
the
close.
thalidomide,
It's really close to flipper.
yeah.
Thalidomide, yeah, there you go. So it was a drug. It was a drug the FDA approved for mothers, for pregnant mothers, who had extreme morning sickness or nausea during pregnancy. They approved this drug and recommended, and the OBs and GYNs recommended it to the mothers and said, yes, it's FDA approved, here you go. This is why we wait years before we take new drugs, before we accept any, before we trust the FDA. Because this was just in a matter of months after they approved this, that children were being born with severe deformities and being abandoned. And it was huge. So, there's my American flag. Yay! So that's all of my amazing science information. If you want to know about my battle bag, that was the other topic that people wanted to hear me speak concerning. So if you want me to talk about that, I can, or I can just tell you one-on-one. But if you have any questions about the amazing science, let me know.
The medicine was thalidomide.
Thalidomide.
Yeah, thalidomide.
And that's what caused it. And you're right, there was not enough study done on the drug
No.
to see what the adverse effects might be over years. And there is a good possibility that the mRNA that's being used now for the vaccines is going to have some kind of consequences, if not already. They're already seeing the heart covering being hit. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, there's other
Pericardial
stuff.
sac.
Yeah, there's other stuff like that. I know of a young girl that started her menopause and she's too young to be into that. Things like that. It's gonna. I think we'll start seeing more and more evidence once the political side of it starts pulling back.
The drug that caused, they gave miscarriages that caused that kind of thing, diethylstilbestol.
Don't step on it.
And children, it was a big thing about it because not only did it cause deformities like that, but if you managed to not be born with deformities, you had an 85% chance of getting uterine cancer.
Oh.
So for years, I had to be checked every year because my mom took a diethylstilbestol and she cured me. They're called DES daughters. You may remember that, Joe. I know that they were called DES daughters.
And I'll give you one more if we're done.
Okay.
Have an anecdote. Had a customer years ago, and he was talking to me. He says he was very successful. He had constructed some industrial hotels, residential areas, and everything in Puerto Rico. He said very successful. And I said, how are you so successful having dyslexia? I think doesn't that affect your numbering and everything? He said, oh yes, definitely. And he says, what I do is, whenever I work up a quote, I'll work it up, and then I take the biggest numbers and I put them on the left. He was honest. He was honest with me.